Hey friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Leanne and today's video is going to be another What's for Dinner. I am sharing with you 3 easy recipes that I also consider pretty healthy, and they are perfect, at least in my opinion, for the fall and winter season where you just kind of want those different types of dinners. So anyways, let's get right into the first recipe, which is going to be homemade chicken noodle soup. Super easy. Let's get into it. And there may be some revving noise that you keep hearing in the background, and that's because as I am working on YouTube, my husband is outside working on the yard, which is awesome, but it's kind of hard to find a quiet place. So, real life. I'm going to start by putting in some extra virgin olive oil into a pot to cook up the onions and celery and garlic. So I will include the recipe in the description box below, but I am dicing up 1 small onion and then 3 cloves of garlic, but I was just using the minced jarred garlic, so I did about 2 teaspoons of garlic and then 2 to 3 stalks of celery. Obviously this can vary based on your personal preference. I'm also saving my scraps in a plastic bag there to be put in the freezer, and I will use this in the future to make homemade chicken broth or vegetable broth, beef broth, whatever you want. I used to do this all the time, and I'm trying to get back in the habit of doing that. But any scraps from like onions or garlic, celery, carrots, whatever you would normally like put in that kind of a thing, you can just save those scraps and throw it in the freezer until you are ready to use it. Normally I would use about 4 large carrots or maybe even more, but this is all I had left in the refrigerator, so I am cutting them up. But you again can vary any of this based on your personal preference, but we do like to incorporate a lot of veggies in our meals. So the celery, onions, and garlic have been sauteing. We're going to start adding in the other things. My recipe calls for 6 cups of chicken broth and 2 cups of water. So 1 carton is 4 cups, and then I will have a measuring cup with 2 cups of water and 2 cups of chicken broth, and I will add that. I will say I used to always make my own chicken broth, and I'm hoping to get back to that soon, but that is even better if you can use homemade stuff. Now I just added in the carrots, and then we're going to season salt and pepper to taste. I don't normally cook with pepper because I don't care for it. I just let my husband add that to his meal as he desires. And then about a teaspoon of oregano and a teaspoon of basil. Now for your chicken, you can do this however you want. I sometimes just boil it really plain. This time I just put the chicken breast in the crock pot on high for a couple of hours with a little bit of salt, onion powder, and garlic powder, and that other chicken breast ended up being used for leftovers. But you want 2 to 3 cups total of cooked cubed chicken, and so I'm just cutting it up here, and I'm gonna measure that out. Like I said, it ended up being really just 1 chicken breast was all I needed, although these are pretty large chicken breasts. And then we're gonna just add that cooked chicken to the pot along with some frozen corn, and I also did some green beans that I had left over in the fridge that were actually already cooked. I cooked peas up on the side because I personally do not care for peas in my soup, and then I also cooked our noodles separately because I knew we would have leftovers and I didn't want them to get soggy, so we just added them when we made up our bowls. Homemade soup is actually pretty easy and is perfect for the fall and winter. So for tonight's dinner, we are going to make chicken burrito bowl. We love this recipe, particularly in the fall and winter, although it is good anytime. I will include a link to the video that I did with the full recipe because I've already done that. So I'm not gonna show you everything, but I will include a link to that. And it was kind of one of my earlier videos, so have mercy on me if you go and see it. But here is everything you will need. And I'm gonna go ahead and get this started and turn it on and then go do my errands and not have to worry about dinner for tonight. There we have it, and we are just going to pop the lid on and put that on low for about 6 to 8 hours. I I cooked my rice up separately, but there is directions in the recipe to do it right in the crock pot, but I just don't often do that based on when I'm home to add things to the crock pot. So I just did that separately. We've got some shredded cheese, tomato, cilantro, lettuce, avocado, sour cream, and my husband likes to do taco sauce, and sriracha. Here is the finish. As you can see, his has far more stuff on it than mine, but I just added cheese, sour cream, and lettuce, and he added that along with tomatoes and avocado and all the other stuff you saw. And we will have the tortilla chips on the side. I usually use mine to scoop with it and eat it almost like a dip. Hey guys, so for tonight's dinner, we are going to have homemade meatballs. I will be serving it with spaghetti squash, but of course you could just serve it with pasta. So the first thing I wanted to do was get my spaghetti squash going in the oven. If you have never made spaghetti squash, it's super easy. Well, baking it is really easy. Cutting it, it's a little bit difficult sometimes, but you just cut it in half, scoop out the seeds, and place it face down on a baking sheet, and it goes in the oven at 400 degrees for 30 minutes to an hour, just depending on the size of your spaghetti squash. And that's all you've got to do. All right, so we have a pound of ground beef, and we're gonna start adding in the rest of the ingredients. Got half a cup of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. Got 1 cup of breadcrumbs. The recipe calls for 1 small onion, and I don't feel like cutting up an onion, so I'm just gonna use some minced onion. 2 to 3 cloves of minced garlic, and I'm just using the jarred stuff here, and I don't know how much that's supposed to equal, but we'll just call that good. About a half a teaspoon of dried oregano, teaspoon of salt, and then it calls for a 1/4 cup of fresh basil and parsley. I don't have either, so I'm just gonna do a decent amount of dried basil and parsley. I also decided that I want to add some feta cheese because I have it and I like feta cheese in Italian dishes. So I think I can add it to the meatballs without a problem. Just going to crumble that in. And then I have a half a cup of almond milk, just because I don't use regular milk, and 2 eggs. I'm just gonna beat that together. Then we're going to mix this and then make golf ball size meatballs. If you have not watched my videos before, I do not like to handle raw meat. Partially because I feel like it's gross, and partially because then I have to pick all of this stuff out from underneath my fingernails. So I use these gloves. I probably should have used a bigger pan, but they all fit, they're fine. Because I have the oven at 400, I probably won't take the full 30 minutes because these are supposed to be 30 minutes at 350. So I will just keep an eye on it. I don't think it'll take the full 30 minutes. And this time I am just taking this marinara sauce from Aldi and heating that up with some Italian seasoning added. I didn't do anything super fancy, but yeah. My meatballs were fancy enough. I thought I was allowed to keep my sauce simple tonight. And here is how it looks all plated up with some freshly grated Parmesan cheese on top. And I did not serve it with a side salad this time just because we were having it over spaghetti squash. But I do want to say that the feta cheese in the meatballs was a game changer. They were amazing. Well, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up because that really helps me out. And if you liked it and would like to see some of my future videos, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below so that you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.